Hello and welcome to a very important issue of that we are taking up in this episode of Point-Counterpoint. This is an issue that plagues all of us, especially people in North Goa, though South Goa also has similar problems, but the whole of North Goa and Bardes is suffering from an acute virus called noise pollution. And the point here is that this is not something that is environmentally created. It's not an environmental disaster of sorts, but this pollution is completely man-made, born out of greed and the urge to make profits. Cutting, and this menace cuts across different regimes, different political parties, and so on and so forth. This noise pollution is also linked to large-scale late-night parties with blaring sound all across North Goa, and it's not restricted only to the established nightclubs. There is this whole universe of different kinds of trance and sound parties which happen in all parts and nooks and crannies of North Goa, in secret beaches, in jungles and forest hideouts, and so on and so forth. The problem here, the fallout of all this, there is two. It's disturbed the absolute peace and tranquility of people in those areas. Village life has gone for an absolute toss. People are unable to even sit and prepare for exams. There are a lot of young people who work in call centers or work for companies abroad, and their peak times happen to be late in the evening, when they can't even do conference calls with their teams elsewhere. These are practical things that have happened all over the place, and whenever any attempt is made to clamp down on this, either by the media and others, there has been a very severe kind of a repercussion. We remember how, when one of our Herald reporters, Asmita Polji, had taken up a huge crusade against this. She was actually kind of threatened. She and a colleague were threatened, and we even filed a case, and that of course is going on, and we need to look at what's happening there. But the point that one is making is that Article 21 allows us to live, or basically ensures that we live with dignity. We live in harmony. We get a sound night's a night of sound sleep. But that's completely gone for a toss. Establishments are cutting corners. The rule is not to play music after 10 p.m. and even after that there are conditions and restrictions. While we are saying that nightlife should not stop in Goa, but the rampant excess use of loud music and parties, and obviously, while that is not the subject of this discussion, but we'll bring it in slowly, the whole D word, the drugs word, that is completely linked to trance music and so on and so forth. So there are a lot of issues to cover, and we feel blessed to have probably one of the best panelists that we could have had for a discussion like this. On my right is Mahesh Patil, the chairman of the Goa State Pollution Control Board. Welcome, sir, for coming. And his department, and of course his board rather, has a very important role to play. Advocate Nigel Costa-French is very well known as a lawyer, an activist, somebody who's in fact represented and litigated on many of these issues very extensively. So let's suffice to say that a lot of the changes that are happening, legally and through litigations, is because of people like him. On my left is Advocate Kapil Fatte. Kapil, let us put it this way. The Goan system needs officers like him because of his integrity and honesty and the stellar role that he played as Deputy Collector Bardes. Of course, he's in another department now, but he's been in the thick of things and knows it all. I will start with Mr. Patil. If you can just react to some of the points that I've mentioned right now, and also the role that organizations and authorities like Goa Pollution Control Board can play in curbing this.
Thank you for giving me this opportunity to come and express my view.
Pleasure.
We know noise has been a big issue, and of late we are seeing more vocal expression in the newspaper as well as the court cases which have been filed.
Yes.
And then it's as you rightly said, it's not a nature made, but it's a man made, and then we need to have a control measure.
Yes.
As I represent Goa State Pollution Control Board, which is a technical body, and we are also mandated under Environmental Protection Act to take certain measures. Here, as a part of, I'm specifically speaking of Noise Act, which empowers actually a police and a SDM to take action.
Right.
However, Pollution Control Board has an equally important role in technically assisting them. So at least we are looking for, we are analyze the entire situation, and we feel we need to come together. It's a combined role of pollution technical body like Pollution Control Board, then administrative aspect like Deputy Collector, SDM, and police to work together and take it forward. We have prepared an action plan, and we hope with joint action plan and support, we'll able to, if not totally eliminate, but reduce the menace, and we can make an action plan to take it forward.
Okay, we'll get back and dive into that action plan in detail as we go along. Najil, I'd just like to bring you in. If you can just quickly touch upon the current litigations that are going on and react to a little bit to what I just said.
So there are a couple of PIL writ petitions pending before the High Court. Now they are with regard to the playing of loud music in these establishments which are in the coastal belt of mainly Anjuna, Vagator areas, because that is the place where the most complaints come from, because they have these EDM parties, etc., which go on. They start sometimes early evening, 6 o'clock, and go on till 6 a.m. the next day.
Right.
So there are a number of orders passed by the High Court, which the last one was in December of last year, which lays down various actions to be taken by the government departments, which include patrolling by the local police. They've noise pollution monitoring committee that has been formed by the government. They are supposed to do surprise checks. The registers are to be noted by the SDMs as to when the complaints are received. The action taken reports are to be submitted by the district magistrate. Despite all this, the things still continued. There were a lot of complaints coming, especially to me because I was appearing. Complaints from the villagers asking that something be done.
Right.
So again, now there's a contempt petition in the High Court, and most recently now the government has come out with an action plan, as Mr. Patil pointed out. This was in terms of the directions of the Green Tribunal, National Green Tribunal.
Right.
Now this action plan is good because it has something which can make this implementation of the judgments of the High Court and Green Tribunal more effective. I'll just give you an example. Now the action plan has a thing where these establishments which organize parties, etc., or these events, they are required to fit certain devices which would measure the decibel level of the music that is being played. That in turn would be relayed directly to the pollution board and the local sub-divisional magistrate, probably via the internet. And so therefore, if there's a violation of the noise pollution norms and the guidelines, or there's music being played at a particular time which they're not supposed to play.
Correct.
I suppose that it can be easily traced out. So then there's no question of
this is in section 7F.
That's in
7E and 7F
correct,
of the guidelines.
of that guidelines. So if that is implemented properly by the government, of course it will go a long way. Because right now what is happening is there's mostly a paper implementation. I don't blame anyone. But what I'm saying is also very difficult for the authorities because we get a call. But then the police, local police, sometimes they go, they don't go. Action is taken a week or some days thereafter. In the meantime, the purpose is defeated. So the people are getting disturbed, children are suffering, old people are getting. So I hope that this action plan is implemented in its true spirit. That is my.
Okay, we'll go more in depth into all this. Kapil, I'd just like to bring you in. See, the core of the problem seems to be two things. One is the fact that people who want to do these kind of activities, play loud music, rampantly till 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock in the morning. Also, most of them do not have the permissions to do so. They do fixing at the local level and get it done. But the point is that, as somebody who's kind of been an administrator of sorts of that particular belt, how do people get away with this feeling that they can actually carry out these activities without any need to take any permissions and nothing is going to happen?
No, I would like to slightly disagree on that.
Okay.
See, the noise pollution regulation and control rules are very clear.
Right.
Under section 8, upon based on the police report or an information received, you can always issue them show cause notices.
Right.
Which in my small stint as a deputy collector Bardes, I tried to implement. I issued them show cause notices. In fact, there was a inbuilt problem in the manner in which we were issuing notices.
Okay.
We were issuing them notices under Environmental Protection Act.
Right.
So then I perused it and then I amended it and then we were issuing them notices under noise pollution. So there was a certain kind of fear. I will not say fear exactly, but there was there was a sense was instilled that yes, there is something of this sort, and we need to follow it.
Right.
Having said that, see, as a deputy collector, it is also my duty. It is incumbent on me also to respond to people,
Right.
and that was the first thing which I did when I was there. Is I called the people and I asked them to air their grievances, so that I can get the exact
Situation.
feel of the situation.
Yes.
And then I found many disturbing things came to my this, and it was also the people were getting harassed and
Right.
such things were happening. So that was how it is. But
No, the point that I wanted to ask you, see, on one hand you have local people there who've been living there for generations, and the noise is right in front of them, which again is a big problem. So that's disturbance. Secondly is that these establishments who are there, they turn around and say, look, we also need to earn, we also need to do our businesses, why are you coming in the way? And there are many Goans on the other side as well. That is one part. The other part is there are so many establishments that come from outside, big bars, big restaurants with big money coming in, okay, who kind of and these so-called big nightclubs who carry on doing this from till we are the morning. The question I'm trying to ask, and I'll get back to Mahesh Babu also on this, is that since you cannot play music after 10 p.m. and even if you do, you need with their very clear-cut guidelines.
exactly.
How is it that the sheer number of establishments who are doing it, and continuing to doing it, how is that possible?
see, I can only speak about the history.
Sure.
When I was
Absolutely.
there.
Yes.
When I started taking action, this it came down relatively.
I see.
mean, it was
Yes.
substantially it was reduced.
Right.
And the first writ petition, and Dr. was appearing for that for the petitioner, was in 2021 during my stint. There was a PIL which was filed, and I was ready with my work, with whatever I had done. So it will not be appropriate to say that during my time I took what was action.
So you're saying when the state is strong and when actions happen,
Yeah.
The
At least
result
some
also
kind.
flows,
At
correct.
The
least you have
officers
to
have to
be.
implement. That's all.
If you are responsive, then
Correct.
at the same time, I don't. Every officer has his own style of
Right.
handling things.
Right.
Sometimes when Bardes is a very hot spot.
Right.
Being there and handling, because I know how we were trying our level best.
Right.
Even my colleagues, even now,
Right.
and even my predecessors, they were doing their very
As much
best.
as they could,
And
correct.
it ultimately comes out of the. How you are going to handle it. It
Right.
varies from person to person.
Person. Okay. Mahesh Babu, if you can just kindly explain to us a few things. See, for instance, it'll be fair to say that after 10 o'clock, and especially in an outdoor venue, you cannot play music. I mean, unless there are exceptions and you take certain part.
Specific-
I'm not looking at the 15 festive days.
Yeah.
We leave that out. That we
Yeah.
know. If you leave the 15 festive days out, you need to take it. Now the point is, what does one need to do to play music after 10 p.m. and what is not being done?
See, as my two other panelists have said, it's a nuisance, and there is a procedure laid out in the very clearly stated.
Right.
Now here in the Goa Noise Act and rules, which
Right.
were published in last February
Yeah.
2022.
I think Goa Noise Pollution
But the-
Rules 2000 and further amended.
Further amended,
Yes,
yeah.
further,
So
yeah,
it's very,
amended, yes.
very clearly describes a procedure, what you want to do.
Right.
There's a format, you apply to the collector or SDM, they send this application to the Department of Environment. Department of Environment send that application to the Pollution Control Board, we
Right.
being a technical body.
Right.
We visit to the site, make us assessment report. Now that assessment report consists of what is the present noise level there,
Okay.
because we have equipment.
Right.
We also say what are the locations, residential location located, the schools, other housing colonies,
Right.
and that we make report and say, and then also we ask what are the musical equipment they are going to play. What is the noise level, decibel levels specified,
Right.
and number most important aspect is whether there is a control mechanism, there is a noise control.
Right.
So after 10 o'clock, suppose you are before that you are playing a larger music, and later whether you are able to reduce, mean that is a regulator to the music.
Right.
If that all equipments are written,
Right.
and we give a factual report to the environment, to the government, and they issue the
What is
permission.
the dB, maximum dB that you can
You make there are different standards.
Right.
Like in the night, it cannot cross 65.
Okay.
Yeah, there are in day there are 75,
Right.
and that this is average level. So there are also I make it a point here for measuring the dB. You require very sophisticated equipments,
Right.
which I will tell you later.
Right,
Part.
right.
And you require that particular equipment is one. Handling that equipment is second part. Like for example, I'll just you go to airport, the flight which lands or takes away, it makes a huge sound,
Right.
but it's not a yearly average, so or hourly average.
Right.
So there are science involved in this.
Right.
However, I agree to the fact that we should not have a right to cause inconvenience to others when we want to enjoy.
Right.
And typically what I also observed that one particular establishment makes a big, plays some music probably
Yes.
for their commercial interest, but
Right.
another 15 commercial interests or hotels where people want to live peacefully
Yes.
doesn't happen.
Right.
So I think there has to be balance between the two.
Right.
And whoever wants to play music, there are many disco clubs, there are what you call as a
Indoor
establishment.
Right.
They can play their music and people go with the choice.
Right.
The problem is who don't have choice has to listen this music
Right.
or a noise. I
Right.
wouldn't call it no more music, it becomes a noise.
Right.
Yeah. So there is a procedure available, there's a permissions process available, and people has to take. So we'll have that control
One
in place.
interesting thought of the so many establishments that are there only in the northern belt.
Yeah.
To your mind, I mean, depending on the records that you have,
Yeah.
how many such establishments would have been given permission to play music after 10 o'clock?
Yeah, I think that this act came only, rules came or amendment in February.
Right.
Of course, then March, April, there were much. So as my just figure, we must have processed around 20 to 25 applications.
So in the whole state of Goa.
State of Goa,
Right.
especially from north,
Correct.
and that last 2-3 months.
Right, right.
That is what my rough figures what we have.
So ideally, in an ideal world,
yeah.
then there should not be more than 20 to 25 establishments who should be playing music after 10 o'clock.
Yeah.
Ideally.
Ideally.
Legally.
Yeah, legally, correct.
Legally.
So the thing is that itself
Yeah.
tells the picture because
But that
in
also,
got
yeah,
from you,
but
yes.
also I want to add upon because
Yes.
this is a new procedure. Many people are not aware of the procedures.
That's right, correct.
Secondly, the establishment who has to play, so that will be a lot of awareness required, and that is
Right.
what we are playing role now.
Right.
Getting people. There is a process.
Right.
There is a license you have to take,
Correct.
and these people are who are taking. Or again, I'll tell you, the regular who are coming, but they
Right.
take for 1 or 2 days. Again, they come back.
Correct.
So many of the people probably we have to educate more and enforce also. Both are equally required.
One interesting thing that I'll ask all three of you is, see, if you are part of the nightlife circuit, you'll constantly get WhatsApp messages of different kinds of underground parties
Locations,
happening. Underground parties, locations, this party is happening there, and you will have strange names, strange DJs. The name of the place is also going to be completely secret. There are some telephone numbers given, and the issue is, and you have foreign DJs coming and playing rampantly. Now that becomes, the issue is that there'll be so many of them. There'll be, during the season, you'll probably have 5 or 6 such parties happening on a daily basis. Now the point is that all completely belongs to a different planet altogether. So how do you monitor that?
Okay, as I said, and as you all are aware,
Yes.
technology can make a big difference.
Right.
And as I said earlier, I told you, in fact, 5-6 years back,
Right.
Goa government had taken a very good initiative and undertaking.
Right.
They said they had given noise level meter to the police.
Right.
The police said they cannot operate, so they were trained by pollution control officials.
Right.
But you also appreciate number of workforce they have,
Right.
type of the work they have, including my colleague who said from SDM, who said that was a problem, how much they handle, and this happens in the night. So we should also appreciate the problem happens.
Right.
So what we thought is we will use the technology, and I'm happy to share with you that we were doing a study as a pollution control board, and we have now already got a technology which is used elsewhere in the world,
Okay.
also in parts of India, but we are using for this different purpose.
Right.
So this you will have equipment, as advocate was saying, it will be installed at particular place. It will directly give reading to the pollution as per the law. It should have been,
Right.
but first we are targeting to these hotspots.
Right.
They are called as these hotspots.
Right.
So they directly transfer to the pollution control board. It will directly transmit to the local police station as well as to the collector and SP.
Okay.
So the online information flow will be there.
And this equipment is in place now?
No, this equipment, as
To
I
be
said,
put.
it was not available. We have placed an order.
Right.
So it takes time, getting this information. We started this. In fact, government was very, very supportive. My
Right.
minister, I can openly say, Mr. Dilesh Kabra, not minister, he said, do whatever, but we want to have action.
Right.
And this is a huge cost. I think
Right.
you go in a market, you get 10,000 rupees 1 decibel meter, which doesn't stand scrutiny court of law,
Right.
because it doesn't have scientific. But here this approved by Ministry of Environment and Forest or Central Pollution Control Board, which you direct reading and you have online reading. So even you create a record for it, and that is what we are placing order.
Right.
We have finalized a tender, so
Right.
hopefully within next 1 or 2 months that will be in the place.
Right.
That is one part is hotspot, like you say Kalangud, Baga, Anjuna. Also we are talking to the government, and my minister also said he will support that we will put in there are a lot of JIDC property where we
Right.
can install this.
Right.
There is also police protection, IRB we can put and support.
Right.
Secondly, we have similar equipment which you mount on a vehicle. Now you said some of the places we get a complaint.
Right.
Now by the time you go and start monitoring, it disappears.
Right.
It happens.
Right.
So we can place a vehicle and those equipment will directly give reading
Right.
to the police. So
Okay.
police also have a record and they can trace it.
So you can mount it on a vehicle.
Mountain vehicle and move around. So
Right.
that will we have placed an order, and hopefully within by January or February we should able to have that in place. So technology will make a big difference. That is what we're trying.
Rajini, if you can tell us currently, when you see the situation and you filed so many complaints, where does the problem basically lie? What are the, say, maybe 4 or 5 areas of concern, and what should the action plan kind of be, and what should be the solution?
See, to be frank, the main problem is there are orders of the court, there are rules, there are guidelines. The problem is the implementation. And I believe that, see, there is direct political influence at certain sectors, especially in certain areas.
Right.
Obviously, because ultimately the police are either pressurized or whatever. There are establishments which are playing music well beyond the openly.
That's right.
Everyone can see it. You take a drive at midnight today in Anjuna and you can see it happening.
Right.
With impunity. So obviously they have some kind of, they're enjoying some kind of protection from some quarter. So that has to stop. Unless that is there, implementation is impossible. Now, of course, we can, as Mr. Patil said, we have those equipment which is coming. That will help certainly.
Right.
But thereafter what? Now, for example, establishment is caught playing music well beyond the permissible hours or beyond the
Right.
decibel limits. Then comes the action.
That's
What action
correct.
are you going to
Very
take against them?
important, very
And
important,
I
yes.
believe, and I've been suggesting this in the petitions also, in my submissions, that these establishments who are violators should not be given permission again to play music in that particular. Because if you're doing it in a legal way, it's fine.
Right.
But if you're troubling people and you're causing a disturbance to the entire
So
locality,
you're suggesting they should be given permissions at all?
their permission should be cancelled immediately, and they should not be given permissions again
Right.
for being violent, especially repeated cases.
Right. Right.
That is the first thing that should happen. And thereafter things will fall into place. I mean, the committees are there, noise pollution monitoring committees, which are made up of the government officers as well as some local
Yes. I have some
persons.
questions to
Yeah.
ask about that also.
So if they also act in true earnest and they do what they're supposed to do,
Correct.
then the problem, I'm not saying it'll be eradicated,
Right.
but it'll be curtailed to a large extent.
Right.
That's how it is.
Kapil, same question in the sense that where do what are the areas of concern even now? Why is this happening? And even after the action plan is put into place, what needs to be done to see that that plan works?
What from my experience, what I've understood or what I have observed is, if after the show cause notice, the thing of hearing, I started taking up hearings.
You're right.
They would come, they would submit their.
Right.
Although at that particular point of time, we were also short of decimal meters. Only 1 or 2 decimal meters were
Right.
there. Chairman will be aware.
Right.
So I insisted, I wrote to the government, and then we got decibel meters. We not calibrated, but then we got decibel meters.
Right.
And the first thing was it started off. It had to start off somewhere.
Right. Right.
That was the main thing, and
Right.
I had to be responsive to the people.
Right.
And even otherwise, the establishments who, as Dodor said, the establishments who violate also, there's certain kind of regulation comes in when the authority starts taking up matters.
Right.
And a person who writes to you, he writes to you with a hope, that something will happen or
That's right.
something.
Correct.
So the ray of hope was very important. Even now, there should be follow-up. And under Section 8 of, Rule 8 of this, you can...
Rule 8 of, just for the
Rule
viewer.
8
Noise
of
pollution
noise
rules.
pollution
Yeah,
rules.
all right. Okay.
Noise pollution.
Noise pollution rules. Under Rule 8, you can pass a order prohibiting, modify. You can later on modify it. Or
Right, right.
There are provisions under the law wherein an authority is well equipped
Right.
to deal with such circumstances.
Right. Right.
In fact, just to say, add to this, under Rule 8, the authority has the power even to direct a particular establishment to stop playing
Stop.
music.
Okay. Okay.
Can issue a prohibitory order.
Prohibit.
And
So
when you
that,
say authority, who do you mean? Who's the
there
authority?
are authorities now notified under the Noise Pollution Rules 2000.
Right.
Recently, there was a new notification on 9th of November.
Right.
Yeah.
And those authorities are the sub-divisional magistrate, the district
Okay.
magistrate, the
Right.
SDPO. They are various. So all of them can take cognizance.
Okay.
Or any of them.
Right. When we're discussing an issue like noise pollution, obviously we need to link it with nightlife and tourism, because what happens is the need becomes greed only when there is a business angle to it, when more and more hotels and restaurants and nightclubs need to come to cater to this huge influx of people coming in from all parts of the country. And at a time when tourism is at its crossroads, there is this urge to get as many footfalls as possible. Especially, we are all coming out of a major gap in tourism activities for over 2.5 to 3 years because of COVID. So hotels need to run and have more rooms in place. The bars and restaurants that were closed need to pay for their upkeep. They need to pay staff. They need to be profitable. New restaurants are opening, nightclubs are opening. So to basically to keep this whole business churning, you need revenue. And obviously you will not get revenue till, if you're open till 10 o'clock or 11 o'clock. It all happens if you're open longer. People are coming out to party. There is music, because do not forget that with music you have alcohol. Your alcohol consumption goes up only if there's music going on. You take the music out, your alcohol sales will completely come down, and we can't kind of ignore these facts. So the need and the greed to have this whole system going, this the whole tourism activity going, also becomes a beast and a burden of sorts. But for some people it's great activity, some people it's a burden. Now, how do you kind of balance these two? In fact, that is obviously going to be a challenge. I'll start with Kapil and do this way then, in the second half. Kapil, tell me now, the thing is, you've obviously been in the thick of things. So how do you balance it? Because people who want to be there and be a part of nightlife, they say, look, Goa depends on its nightlife, and for Goa is Goa because of its partying, because of its activities, and you take all that out, half the charm of Goa goes, and establishments, hotels, everybody, the whole system collapses. Now, and music is an intrinsic part of it. Mahesh Baba, he very rightly said, you do it indoors, but obviously you may not have so many indoor spaces also, and that requires investment. So, I mean, if it's just your thoughts on how to work around this, because there is on one side there is tourism, there is business, on the other side you need to keep it sane.
During my tenure, I had some establishments, I mean the proprietors, and they visiting me and saying, look, this is the thing. So I had to tell them that it's there in the rule book. I cannot do. I have to implement. My duty is to implement.
Right.
Then they had their side of story, which I also think is that tourism is I mean, very inalienable part of it.
Yes.
It's a core thing. But as I say, if somebody wants to enjoy music, they can also have this micro. There are many such parties which go.
Correct. Silent parties.
Silent parties.
Yes. They did in Palolem.
Yes. So that.
Yes.
That can be one kind of a solution, because I had also told them about this that time. I said, why don't you do it like this?
Right.
If this is the thing, why don't you do it like this? And someday, even I feel that someday, this is my personal opinion, someday you have to come in terms with the fact that nightlife doesn't only mean loud music. We have to come, I mean, we'll have to harmonize with that fact.
Right.
And slowly and steadily, we'll have to move in a certain direction. That is how, because we cannot do away with tourism. That is
Right.
a fact.
Can one look at a situation where you have a specific zone, maybe in that
Yes,
belt,
yes.
and the thing is, activities can be permitted in that particular zone, and that zone, like an industrial area, you can have an entertainment zone, and that zone takes permission.
Practically, as I find it, practically it was not even that time. I also had a view on it. I tried to try to understand this thing.
Right.
But then there are also residential places.
That's right, correct.
So the zoning thing might not be practically not be possible to implement.
Right.
It can be in pockets, but not.
Nigel, what do you feel? Obviously, because Kapil is also right, because at the end of the day, these are old fishing villages and coastal villages, and you have people there. But is there some way one could plan to kind of have a kind of a zone out of the residential areas and create a hub where all this can happen and have establishments just there?
Ideally, that is the most desirable, and in
Right.
fact, the noise pollution rules also has this.
Yeah.
You create silent zones and all that.
Correct.
But for certain areas, for example, the stretch from Kalangut up to Anjuna Vagator,
Yes.
it is not really possible
Right.
because there are village. It's a village. There are houses all over the place, so
Absolutely.
you can't. They have designated zones for these parties.
Right.
It's possible probably in South Goa where the population is less and all. So what I think should be done is you can't avoid also these the parties because that is the tourism that
Right.
attracts a lot of business
Correct.
for the locals. So best thing is to, I mean, the best way to do it is regulate it and make sure it ends at 11 o'clock.
Correct.
Or if you're going to have it beyond 10, 11 o'clock, have it indoors. The establishments have to invest and make their places soundproof so that you can have your parties even if you want up to 3, 4 a.m. Have it indoors.
Right, right,
So there's
right.
no disturbance caused to the.
I think the key point here is to have parties indoors. It's very, very important to
Soundproof areas,
To
yeah,
soundproof it. Get out of that outdoor thing.
Yeah.
And even if you need to do it outdoors, then you follow very, very clear guidelines laid down. You seek the permissions that you very rightly explained, and you seek the permissions, fill up the particular form, let the SDM look at it, let the Goa Pollution. But at the same time, don't you also think that the process underlined right now can be tightened a little bit and made a little faster? So suppose somebody really wants to take permission to have an outdoor event or a series of outdoor events, maybe if the whole process of applying to the SDM and then the Goa Pollution Control Board doing an inspection, after which the inspection report goes back to the SDM and then permissions are given, maybe things can be done to streamline it a little bit better so that even people who genuinely want permissions can get it a little faster.
Yeah, I agree. In fact, that already is a new experience.
Yes.
We started it and we
Yes.
found certain lacunas,
Right.
which government is very keen and is correcting.
Right.
So the process will be shortly corrected.
Right.
The comments are given and we
Right.
sat together.
Right.
But I just want to dwell upon what my other two panelists have said.
Sure.
Yes, as you rightly said, Goa cannot live without music. That is a
Right.
part of intrinsic why people come here.
Hmm.
But I think what we require also over a period of time to segregate that crowd.
Right.
You said music, music in the high music, loud
Right.
music, require a young generation, young people.
Hmm.
So one is a indoor. Secondly, you identify certain places where are possible with certain barriers, and your outdoor also one can have following the rule. Because we have a Kala Academy, best of the music festival happens in Goa.
That's
That was the
right.
music.
Correct.
You have the, and there you don't get even sound, even open air. We like to have a Shastri Sangeet
Correct.
or even a best of the music
Yes,
or the.
absolutely. Correct.
Concerts.
So that is the concerts.
Concerts,
correct.
We all enjoy.
Correct.
But this is enjoyed by few people.
Right.
And they are also part of our tourism. However, what happens today is everybody tries to play that big music and try to get the share in that pie. I
Right.
think that has been segregated.
Right.
As you rightly said, Advocate, that if you have a bigger people coming in, putting all control measures in place, that younger crowd doesn't go. Maybe you charge them more
Right.
if they can. But today, what's the problem is everybody wants to get in every business,
Right.
and that is spoiling again a noise.
To add on to it,
Yes, sure.
see, we have the election mechanism, and it's the most wonderful mechanism we have. Now they have made they have some certain apps wherein you can apply through that app,
Right.
download the documents. If we can come up with something of that sort, then
Right.
it would be more
Correct.
beneficial. Like
If you
people would-
use apps rather than
Yes.
submit applications
Yeah.
by hand,
Yeah.
you upload everything immediately on that app. Decisions can be taken. Even though inspections can be slotted
Yeah.
quickly, you go there and get it done.
In fact, we are using it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, of course, I don't want to talk about other factor, but entire pollution control is online now.
Is it?
We are
Okay.
doing everything online. Even my inspection people go with a laptop and dongle. They make inspection reports online. So we have got online,
Right.
all streamlined process. Here, once this system is established,
Right.
probably we'll able to get even a public awareness on the noise.
Right,
That is the
right.
second phase we want to implement once
Right.
our entire system in place within maybe 2-3 months.
Right.
Yeah, and people be more empowered, as you said, to complain, to add a redressal mechanism.
Correct.
Yes.
Another area. Okay, Nigel, you were saying.
No, I was just saying,
Yeah.
as Mr. E said, a redressal mechanism is what we need. And secondly, this awareness, even with these restaurant, hotel owners, the establishments, they should be also made aware that, you want to have your business, you want to earn your income.
Right.
But it has to be done in a way which is people friendly. So
Right.
if you want to have the goodwill of your neighbors,
Right.
try to accommodate and make sure that you don't cause a nuisance to them.
Right.
For example, don't go beyond the permissible hours and don't blast your music every day.
Right.
That,
Absolutely. Correct.
that kind of humanitarian thing has to be there.
what I had also what I observed was yes, mostly there are some black sheeps here and there, but even they feel that because it's their bread and butter.
Right.
So even they have a mindset
Right.
that they don't wish to trouble anyone. But then the demand is such
Yes.
that things go.
It's
you
more
know,
of more a control.
Control.
Have control over it.
And as I said, no, there's a segregation of the crowd.
Right.
So everybody they feel that with loud music people come. In fact, it's a contrary.
contrary.
Correct,
Probably
correct.
few of the nightclubs people wants to go who are established brand. We all are aware.
Right.
But then everybody wants to say there's a big money, let's
Right.
get it. And other
The
trades
party
also
is
come
the
in.
in thing.
Party is
Parties,
thing,
parties.
correct.
Actually, one area that we have to stress on this is all these trans parties and other parties that are happening beyond the what we are actually talking of. They are not established clubs, they are not established nightclubs, but especially during the November, December, January season, you will actually have this whole lot of foreign DJs coming in. You have these parties coming up. Invitations are come. And entry is by invitation only. They give you a secret code and so on and so forth. And if you go all across, I mean, if you and you must be knowing, during your time, if you actually go beyond all this and go into the heart of Borjim, Ashme, Mandre, all these places, and go into these jungles and parties, you'll see so many of these parties going on which nobody even knows of. Nobody even know of. And you have foreign DJs who come in, you don't know what their work visa situation is, whether they actually have visas to perform or not, whether they take performance licenses or not.
They
So
probably
it
come
is
on tourist visas.
tourist visa. It's completely beyond the realm of any kind of monitoring. So Kapil, how do you sort that out? In the sense, how do you monitor that?
In fact, I had made an attempt. And
Right.
it was to a large extent. It was, I may say that it was successful.
Okay.
Because we had this party.
Right.
What I just went off the track a bit, and we had some young staff
Right.
who were into this, and they were very into this in the sense they were aware about this party.
That's
Who
correct.
are very active on social media,
Correct,
Facebook.
correct. Yes.
They started tracking these things.
Right.
A report was made to me, and then I would send them show cause notices, and then the system would start.
But how do you send show cause notices to somebody who's doing a party for one night and disappearing from a forest?
No, that was the thing. That was the thing.
Yeah.
But there are people who but they have that thing, and
Right.
it is an established
Right,
thing.
right.
It's not that
And there is some phone number,
this
some
fly by
contacts.
night was outside our control.
Correct,
But we
absolutely.
still tried, but
Right.
we did not achieve success there. But then in such cases wherein we had people who did not even take permission, and to our surprise then they came for permission. In fact, that mechanism was not in place
Right.
when I was there.
Right.
So we had the normal way of asking for permission.
Right.
Make a written application.
Yeah, like written application.
Right.
And this mechanism which has come now is
No, there's a
really
lot of
beneficial.
change.
Really,
Right.
really.
That could be helpful.
Yeah.
That's what I
Correct.
feel.
Yeah, but I mean, if you can monitor noise, have proper meters, you can regulate it, and it's a live kind of tracking of your
yeah.
decibels.
I think that's what I said. One is that your intent to do something good, and with the intent supported by right technology will
Correct.
help. And today technology is the fastest available.
Correct.
So probably we'll connect that with many of this noise
Correct.
level committee,
Correct.
other government officers, even Mamladar level people. So on the mobile you can track this data. So this data is available and one can take quick action.
Yeah. Two quick points. See, another issue is I just want to slightly touch upon this whole aspect of parking. You see, what happens is many of these establishments, especially in North Goa, because the roads are narrow, there is hardly any parking available for everybody. And the issue is that all this nightlife activity also leads to a huge congestion on roads. So the point is, with so many people coming in, that is also another disturbance. What happens is because people park their cars in front of homes of people. So the disturbance is not only from the sound but also from the parking of cars around it. Now, of course, in that little Bagator area, they've developed some kind of a parking space for all that, but that's not there everywhere. So, don't you think that all all authorities and others should actively work with, say, panchayats, the transport department, and others to ensure that there's ample parking for nightlife goers?
It's a policy decision which the government has to
Correct.
take.
Yeah.
Actually, taking in the stakeholders and all.
Right, right.
Because even that is a kind of menace.
Correct.
As we see.
No, but Nigel, don't you think that there should be something in the new
course.
guidelines to bring parking
No,
as a
the
as
thing
a
is
mandate?
the
to-
noise pollution guidelines won't deal with this.
Won't
They
deal
won't
with- correct, yes.
The panchayats have their powers. The government would come with some guidelines.
Right,
And of course, I feel that the local authorities, like the panchayats, have to be involved.
right.
They are responsible. They are earning revenue in terms of license fees, etc.
Correct.
They have to take some interest and create these designated parking areas so that the nuisance to their villagers are not
Right.
lessened.
Right,
There
right.
has to be a effort made by all concerned.
One area that I'd like to also kind of touch upon is who should be in control, in the sense that right now, of course, there are SDMs, there are collectors, then you have the police at the local level, then there are panchayats which also give licenses. I'll just start with you, Mehbab, in the sense that do you feel that there is a separate kind of authority needs to be created just to monitor this, or the existing system is fine, but if it is fine, then who really is in charge, rather than having multiple bosses? So
see, here I think creating another authority, creating no more people, I think we would not serve purpose.
Right.
Existing mechanism, you find out what are the loopholes,
Right.
what are the issues involved, and streamline it. Like I
Right.
said, use technology,
Right.
get it faster, amend a form which we have to fill.
Right.
And number two, the finally local level who can take action.
Right.
I believe
Right.
it will be local police.
Right.
Or so give the information time, and there should be strengthened. If they require a more workforce, they require more vehicle or the control mechanism, that has to be strengthened. I think we do not have to come another authority, you recruit more people again, and this you recruit large reach. You're talking of a
No,
postal brand.
what I'm saying is that, to implement this,
Yeah,
of course, Pollution Control Board has a role, the SDM has a role, the police has a role, but should there be a nodal officer to kind of...
That I think the district magistrates could do it.
Is
Could
a-
do.
He is the head of the
He's the head of the
administration. of it.
administration.
Right.
He can
has a-
certainly take
exactly. He can-
responsibility
and
as a
that-
nodal officer. Yeah.
And he has entire administrative mechanism in his
Correct.
place. He has a
Right.
police, he
Right.
can direct anybody. he
Right.
can do it. Our role will be give to go technological support.
Right.
And that will be happily do
You all are
it,
doing.
and we'll improving, and we'll try to get the best of the technology available in the world.
Right.
That's what I can ensure.
Mhm. Huh.
Section, I would just
Sure.
like to add on.
Sure.
The definition of the word authority
Hmm.
is already there in 2C,
Clearly
the
defined.
noise pollution.
Right.
So, in fact, Dr. can share more, more light on it. The word authority has the definition says is a single authority.
Yes, but now what has happened?
You can have a
is-
collective
correct.
authority also,
Correct.
if at all.
Yeah, so the government has now notified these authorities under 2C, and that includes various officers, and of course the district magistrate is also there. So therefore, as I said, being the head of the district administration,
Right.
that particular officer can take charge
Right.
and ensure that all work in concert, because each has their defined roles. The pollution board has its own role, the police have their role. So to act as a nodal officer and
Correct.
in control, the district magistrate certainly can.
Correct.
The rules say
Yeah.
authority, but the government has notified many of them.
Many of them.
correct.
So
They're
probably
very
the
clearly
head, the
defined.
senior most officer would be the district magistrate.
right,
So
right.
he could. Yeah.
See, before we end, there's one uncomfortable subject I would like to raise, because you cannot have the discussion unless that is raised, and that subject is politics and corruption. The point here is that politics and corruption is the bane of most of these issues. I mean, many of the panelists may not say this openly, but the idea is that everybody in Goa knows that this rampant activity that happens, parties going on till 5 o'clock with allied vices coming in, this cannot happen unless there is a feeling that nothing is going to happen to us, that we are going to be untouched, that we'll manage the police, we'll manage the panchayats. And this is where the irony is, because on one hand you have the High Court very clearly saying that the panchayats and the police have to be vigilant. On the other hand, it is like making the naughtiest boy in the class the monitor, and saying that you need to do it. Undoubtedly this is uncomfortable, but we need to kind of at least throw light on this, because there are good forces in the government, including MLAs and ministers, some of them who would agree with the fact that if you don't clean up the system, and if politics becomes a part of it, because, and this is something that one is saying, that many of these establishments would be either controlled or partly owned by people locally, who in turn would be the support base of the local politician, or the local politician would obviously have a great working relationship with many people who are starting these establishments or who own these establishments. Some politicians may even be stakeholders in the nightlife. That there could be many establishments where politicians have their own money put into it. And we see, while we are discussing rules, regulations, a lot of this is a very sanitized conversation, which undoubtedly is important. But we have to address the elephant in the room, which the point is that if you do not have the political will to crack down on this, none of this is going to happen, because at the end of the day, if the people in power are not willing to implement this, then nothing of this is going to happen. Kapil, your take on this?
I'd like to comment on it, because then I'm governed by the CCS conduct rules.
Correct,
so
correct.
I will.
Yes.
What you say is, yes,
Should be
there
thought
should
about.
be will. There should be will and all those kind of.
Nigel, you're the only one who can probably speak freely on this.
No, absolutely correct. And
Yeah.
Sujay, I would say the first blame lies on us.
Yes,
Because we are the ones to clean the vote. The people, the common people, are the ones to clean up the system.
correct.
So every 5 years we have the chance and we don't do it.
Right.
So why blame politicians and anyone else? I mean, the cleanup has to be by us.
Right.
If we vote the same corrupt people in, then what can we expect?
Correct,
That's
correct.
how it is.
But Mahesh Bab,
And people look at the local level. They look to these guys,
Correct.
these persons for.
I think this nuisance is everywhere. Why in a politics, in a public life, private life, and family life, we have the difference of opinion.
Right.
But I think if you have a system which try to be a transparent and use little more of technology, what we are doing now. Today we are doing this. Let me put Aadhaar card.
right,
Everybody would have said today that entire biometric system has made things important.
right,
So similarly, a tracking of your transaction on the bank,
Right.
black money. I
Right.
don't know black money is gone or not, but
Right.
there is a lot of improvement has happened. So certainly there is a scope for doing it, and we have that problem everywhere. So
Right.
let's, and I don't think everybody cannot be a corrupt or everybody is doing like this.
Okay.
People are doing good, that's why we are here. And I think this issue could be resolved.
Okay, before we end, starting from you, a quick thing on, and if you can just summarize the action plan that needs to be taken so that a lot of these things can be put under control.
So one noise action plan, as I said, the government has come up with very clear guidelines for the rules of taking permission. So which we will try to educate people, get awareness.
Right,
Number two, the process to be streamlined, whatever small difficulties we have, that will close it. Third, use a technology, as I explained in detail,
Right.
to monitor and disseminate information to public. So transparency makes more simpler.
Absolutely, yes.
And last is overall tourism policy, where we can segregate, we can identify some places. The Mopa airport is coming up. If you have some blank area where you can identify as a tourism zone where they have nightlife. If you go in Vietnam, Cambodia, you find such places.
right,
So I think that overall, and awareness, everybody should be, let's enjoy not causing problem to my neighbor. That philosophy, if a operator has, as well as person who comes to enjoy has, I think problem will be solved.
yeah. Nigel, the way forward and some solutions.
I endorse what Mr. Badal said fully. And secondly, I think the rules are there, action plan is there. It has to be implemented in earnest. The persons concerned, starting with the police, the magistrates, etc. If they do it in right earnest and they do it with the intention that it should be done.
What are the specific points in the action plan that appeal to you? The action plan that's coming up.
The noise pollution monitoring committees should be strengthened
Right,
adequately with police protection. They should they should do what they're supposed to do in terms of the directions of the High Court. Have surprise checks. They should go there when they complaints
coming
are
to the
received.
noise pollution
Yeah.
Monitoring committee, most of them are actually local people in
No,
that. In
there
that
are
area,
two
many
people,
of
if
them,
I'm
two
not
people.
mistaken.
Yes, yes.
So,
But the issue is that the one complaint, in fact, I didn't bring it up, it just slipped my mind. But I'm saying the common complaint among many noise pollution committee monitoring committee members, and we are finding it right now as we are actually working on a story on this. They are saying that they are finding it very, very difficult to even call up the police officers and get adequate response. See, the idea is that the noise monitoring committee should report from time to time to the local police station and others. If there is any kind of a complaint, a call should go and immediately the police should take action and go there.
So correct.
They are saying it's becoming very, very difficult to even place those calls. They are saying that one particular one DYSP has blocked their numbers and he's not taking calls. No call that they make to the police station is getting answered. So these are practical
yeah,
problems.
so
that they
the
have.
problem
So-
is, why have these members not complained? If
Correct.
the DYSP has blocked their calls, if the
Right.
police are not responding, as being part of the committee, they have to immediately write to the district
Absolutely
magistrate.
correct.
I mean, saying that we are not getting help
I
from the
agree with you.
authorities
And how
concerned.
many times does the committee meet? The committee also needs to be
They
responsible to meet.
they should
also not
be
meet.
meeting. They should tell the police we are coming today at midnight.
Right.
You help us, come assist us
Right.
in the inspection.
Right.
That should be the way. And then other things are these devices which are going to come up now. They'll help a long way if it's done in the right way.
Absolutely correct.
Certainly. I mean,
Kamil, before you conclude, just little more thought on this noise monitoring committee. They are supposed to be foot soldiers there, but either they do not meet enough, or they may have vested interest, or they may be genuine in their complaint, saying that we are up against a blank wall and the police is not responding.
No, during my time, there was no such
Issue at all, correct.
issue at all, because they were in fact, I used to speak to them
Encourage them
late
to-
in the
yeah.
night, and
Right.
they would complain.
Right.
Then we would
Right.
have follow-up actions.
Right.
All these things were
Right.
being they were taking
Right.
place.
Right.
What I feel is we see the issue. If we see the issue holistically, my other panelists have also given their feedback. What I see, what I feel is augmentation of resources is very much important. Resources in the sense infrastructure. Then you will have staff. If you have dedicated staff towards this, because as an officer, I would always like to have a good team.
Right.
I would have resources.
Very important.
Very
Vehicles.
important.
Vehicles.
That's
And
you raised a
also
very important
correct.
point.
all these issues have to
And
be
also,
addressed.
sorry, complete.
So you have to have these things in place, and then there can be effective implementation.
Correct.
That is
No,
one
that
of the
infrastructure point is a good point that you raised,
augmentation
because
of infrastructure is a must.
Absolutely.
It
Yes.
has to be there.
We just can't go on blaming them when they have
Yeah.
already hard pressed for
Manpower,
the
they
You cannot-
manpower,
you cannot s-
vehicles.
You cannot send a soldier with his hands tied in the battlefield.
Right,
That's
right,
the
right.
simple
Absolutely.
logic.
Nigel, you
And
were-
most importantly, I mean, the last thing really is that these officers, especially the police officers, they should need to be sensitized to this particular thing.
Right.
You know, they have to be trained, I feel, some kind of a training, so that they know what they're dealing with.
Right.
Like if they're the constables, they go on their bikes, etc. When they go, they tell they should be sensitized to know that these things are causing a nuisance to the local person. So
Correct.
if you find a place playing music at 4 o'clock in the morning or 3
Yes,
o'clock,
yeah.
you should be strong and
Correct, absolutely
yeah,
correct,
I mean,
yes, yes.
that kind of sensitization of the people also, of the officers and the staff. That's possible.
We are unfortunately running out of time, though this is a conversation that can go on and on and on, and beyond 10 o'clock, and can go up even till 5 o'clock. These conversations always very healthy. But one is at least kind of pleased to at least put on record that the more that these discussions happen, and there are good minds and good professionals that Goa has, whose hearts are in the right place, and they intend really cleaning up the system, not necessarily to dampen tourism and to affect people's enjoyment, but to see that one person's enjoyment does not become another person's torture. And I think that balance, if it is kept, then everybody, there's sanity prevails. People can have their peace, people can have their enjoyment, and at the end, and businesses and genuine businesses that need to prosper also do so. Without running foul of either the local people or the law. But I think one thing that one needs to underline before we round this up is that this requires a very strong political will and a zero tolerance to any kind of interference and corruption as in matters of noise pollution and controlling and monitoring activities which lead to this. Once that political will is there, once there's a very strong like a direction that goes in, then what happens is then the law is very much there. It's all about implementing, which all the panelists have said, look, all you need to do is implement. Implementation becomes much easier if there is an absolutely strong political mandate. And at this point of time, I'd like to take leave to at least mention the role of the Hyderabad and Telangana police and the manner in which they have recently done to crack down. And they've done nothing. They've just followed the law, come into Goa and essentially booked people who are involved in cases registered in Hyderabad, in Telangana mainly. And drug peddlers have been caught. People suspected to be involved in drug activities have been caught, and they've been operating in Goa for years and years. So it just shows, it's just an example which shows that when there is a will, there is a way. Even Goa has had some very good officers. I mean, during Kapil's time as deputy collector, the cases really did go down when people knew that there was some kind of monitoring and there's some kind of no nonsense approach. We have very good lawyers. We have lawyers who are hell bent on cleaning up the system, like Advocate Nigel and others, who are also kind of proceeding. So the silver lining at the end of the tunnel is that it is not all dark. There are good people even in Goa wanting to do it. You have a chairperson of the GSPCV like Mahesh Bab, who's there to kind of get technology and put the entire force of technology in the system to see that there's proper monitoring. So the idea is that once there is will, then forces like this get more encouraged to take this up, because at the end of the day, the idea is not to put anybody behind bars or inconvenience somebody or shut down somebody's business, but to have a cleaner, safer, noise-free Goa where enjoyment and peace go hand in hand. Thank you very much, and I especially thank all the three panelists for their incisive thoughts and ideas. which has kept this whole conversation going, and this whole flame of Goa burning in the right possible way. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.